Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I will call the meeting to order of the Select Board meeting at 5:02 p.m. Roll call.
Veronica Kell present.
The date.
Okay. Sorry. I'm still on last night. Okay. I'm starting again. Good evening, everyone. My name is Laura Schifrin, and I am calling the meeting to order of the Select Board on March 11th, 2025 at 5:03 p.m. Roll call vote, please. Roll call, please.
Veronica Kell present.
Laura Schifrin present. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to thank all of our veterans and all of our current military serving and all of the emergency responders that help us every day and their families for their sacrifices. The meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. Is there anyone else on that? There's no one else in the room here recording, but is anyone else online? Yes. Okay, and let's go Wi-Fi. And
6:15 for health, I think.
yeah. But that's after all the business.
Yeah.
Okay. Glasses. Okay, hearing that nobody else is recording, 1.4 chairman's additions or deletions. I don't have any to the agenda. I don't believe I'm deleting anything that's on here. But I would like to make an announcement. And that is in reference to our election coming up. I would like to announce the positions. We do have one person running for the Select Board. We have one person running for Amanda Dwight Entertainment Committee. There's another position available, so if somebody's interested in a write-in for that, that term for the vacancy is through 2026. Board of Assessors has a position open for 3 years. Board of Health has 2 people running for 1 vote, 1 3-year position. Board of Library Trustees, 3-year positions. There are 2 people running, and there are 2 votes that can be taken. Board of Water Commissioners, there's 1 3-year position that we have somebody running for. Cemetery and Parks Commission, and that's 1 3-year term. And then North Middlesex School District has an open position. Planning Board has fill a vacancy to 2027, and then Planning Board also has a 5-year position available at this time, and no one has taken out papers. Same for Recreation Commission for 3 years. Recreation Commission to fill a vacancy does have 1 running through 27, and the town clerk has 2 people running for the position. Housing Authority to fill a vacancy to 26. Housing Authority to fill a vacancy for 27. No one has taken out papers. Trust Fund Commission, there is a 3-year position with no one running. Trustee of Soldiers Memorial veteran position, there is a veteran running. And trustee soldiers memorial non-veteran position is open, ending in 2027. So I'd like to thank everyone who took their papers out and who are running to participate in the community. Appreciate all of you taking the interest to do so. And we wish you all luck. And if we can help in any way regarding those opening positions and you want to do a write-in vote, please let people know. Thank you for allowing me to do that.
Thank you.
1.5, do not have any minutes that we're doing this evening. Too close to meetings now. We'll be a little behind. We're going to go down to our appointment is at 6:15.
No, this isn't what I want.
And
I need the original motion.
under meeting business, which is our primary for meeting tonight, is to review and discuss the special town meeting that happened last night. And possible next steps, including a possibility of 2 budgets. And just a motion.
Did you want to discuss?
No, I don't have a motion. I want to discuss before
Any
we,
motion?
yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right. Go for it.
So, I guess, Nelson has the omnibus budget as if an override were to pass. And I threw some numbers together today for us to consider tonight for if an override wouldn't pass.
Mm-hmm.
So essentially, I went through looking at the things we had talked about, the departments, and with again, we haven't, all of this is contingent on talking to the Labor Council regarding collective bargaining agreements, and also going out to the department heads and, seeing what they think. But it's essentially a 20% across the board, with the exception of public safety, debt, insurance, and of course water, which is separate from the general fund. So 20% cut, which means buildings open 4 days a week. 20% cut in all salaries. There are a few exceptions, and we can look through it as we go. Personal services contracts honored, because they are contracts. Let me see. Municipal trash removed. However, depending on the recap, and I haven't seen that because I didn't do the recap. I just went through the budget. So we can look at that, because we do need about 300,000 to cover the gap between the purple bags and the rest. So if that 300,000 can go in, we can consider it. Otherwise, it's removed completely. The thing about that is any override that we need, even the 1.334, if it were that high, that is less than what people would pay for trash service in a month. So it comes down to, in my book, simplifying it, you pass the override or you pay for trash, and you're better off with an override than paying for trash as far as the monthly cost goes. You still have to buy purple bags, but such is life in this day and age. So I don't know that I put municipal trash in there. And the budget I played with today, we also should look at the number of people under insurance, because we did eliminate one position, the community services coordinator position, during the budget summit on March 1st. That was removed for FY 2026. So we should be able to go down one person in insurance.
And it should be noted that that position was not fully funded for 26 by ARPA.
No, the ARPA funds were repurposed in December of 2024.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we had, the town had collected funds over the course of the past 3 years in order to fund a position.
A position.
A position.
In the budget.
And because we had a resignation and we did not fund through ARPA, the Community Services Coordinator, we removed those funds from the Board of Selectmen budget, but we did that on March 1st. So, all right, so do we want to look at this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep. So I actually I barely had enough time, but I incorporated your changes to my spreadsheet.
Okay.
So so we can go, and I think I highlighted most of it. So
The other thing that I did is I cut office supplies in half, so I don't know, it doesn't look like you picked that up from my spreadsheet.
let me just see if I caught
I
everything.
did it through every department, yeah.
I was gonna say.
Oh, okay. I didn't do a full quality control check.
I'll be able to tell. Let me pull mine up.
Right.
And so essentially I have it in place that offices are open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Buildings are open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, closed Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
All buildings?
Pretty much, not the fire or the police, but
And
we'll talk about
library
that.
and senior center?
Yes, yeah.
They're closed.
On Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but open Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. I know the library needs to remain a certified library and get the funding that they bring in. I thought they told us they needed 40 hours a week.
I spoke to Valerie this morning, and I think the number from that they can cut and still maintain certification under all the other money from the state was only like 15,000. Once you cut more than that, they lose certification and they lose out on a tremendous amount of funding. They're now in the CW Mars interlibrary sharing program.
The 15,000 is all they can cut from their budget?
Before they lose.
I thought it was hours.
Well, it's kind of both, because if you cut from the budget, then you're cutting staff. She said she would get some more clarity from the library folks, but it was somewhere right around there, $18,000.
So I just wanted to see if a 20% cut would get us into the ballpark of if it's existing without an override. That was the intent.
It does, and
we can talk about it and vote, but I really think it has to go to the departments and say, you need to make a 20% cut.
In order for us to not.
These are our recommendations, but they could, yes, in order to fund the budget without an override. That's what I'm trying to do here. What cuts can we make to fund the town budget without an override?
Okay.
So looking up here, yes, BOS office supplies cut from 2,500. I thought that, we really should be using less paper. And so I was just looking for places. So you should have a 15.6. Yep. Okay. So really it's, on this one, it's removing the community services coordinator and the human resources manager. These are the funds that we had been accumulating in order to fund the position without ARPA, once ARPA was no longer in play after December 2026.
So we won't have human resource manager either.
Some things might be able to come back. We'll have to see.
I mean, this position will still be ARPA funded. in 26.
for
It's
26.
funded in 26, but you don't put ARPA funds in here. It's,
Right,
so, anyway, okay.
but they're also not in free cash either, right?
No,
just
they're
out there.
separate. They are,
Yeah, okay.
they are their own entity with their own,
Right.
there's different accounting rules for them and all of that stuff. So, okay. Finance, I didn't change the reserve fund at all. I thought, we might need that. We're going bare bones budget, so best to have something in reserve. So that stayed as is. Accounting support staff got cut. Again, you can see, oh, you didn't put my thingies in there. So I took what was there and multiplied it by 80%.
Yeah.
To get that. I left in all longevity and other things of that variety. The benefits that are union benefits remained in.
Yep. And you notice I added an extra column here. And that was because I actually spoke to Town Labor Council and they said, come up with a list and come up with a list as well as the expected savings.
Okay.
So I'm gonna, once we go through it, I'll have a clean list of all the positions and what this potential savings would be, just so we have like a running tally.
All right, so
Did office supplies get?
oh yeah, I did office supplies.
Okay.
I also took out, hang on a minute, because I think that I took out $1,000 from, from office supplies and left the 800 in. I really don't understand that repair and maintenance equipment thing. I don't understand. So I took out 1,000 there. That was at 1,800.
Okay, yeah, so I'll just.
So I took out 1,000. My notes have it, but they didn't get translated there.
Okay.
All right, so 26.3 and minus 1.3 overall. Okay. Board of Assessors, again, it was a 20% cut in salary. So minus 16.1.
Yep.
And then under supplies, I might not have done it because they might have been.
Is this because of the one less day?
Oh, I did cut, yes, one less day. It's 20% of the week goes away. Office supplies, I cut to 400. Okay. All right, so it should be minus 4.5 and minus 14.5. All right. Treasurer collector, again, we're working with personal services. So under the staffing, yep, I did that cut. And it should be a minus 6.3 under staffing. I cut in half the office supplies.
Are those still subject to union?
I think that you should have 1,300 under the savings expenses.
Oh, sorry.
And for an overall minus 3.3
Yep.
in treasurer collector. Okay. Then it was council, I left as is. I left the management information systems as is. I didn't cut that stipend because it was a stipend, and I didn't really change stipends. I guess I could have, but I didn't. We can talk about that. But the overall was a 2.5 anyway for that thing. So I just left that. Town clerk. All right, here I did, I looked up Massachusetts living wage. And that is $27.89. I figured we're going to go with 30 hours a week for 52 weeks. So that's where I got that number from. on the warrant article, we should also take into account the benefits, so salary and compensation. So when we do the warrant article, we should include the amount for benefits, both health insurance and retirement. I reduced the assistant town clerk by 20%. 3.7, okay.
What were we carrying for the salary originally?
It was 46,715. It's on the line in what I sent you. I put it in the comments. I didn't want to lose that.
Right. 40. So what was it again, 46?
43,510.
No, the previous amount.
Oh, the previous amount, I didn't pull that out, but it's in the omnibus.
Okay, I'll just add it.
Yeah. I think that, I mean, you could even, I think we had either 50 or 60,000.
Yeah, I can refer back to, I have so many versions of the omnibus that it's like,
The next one is 37372. That's 20% cut from 46,715. So that's a major cut there. I 50% cut the office supplies, so that went down. So that's town clerk. And I'm looking here. I kept all the election as is. Didn't make any changes to what was on the omnibus for those two. Street listings stayed as is. Conservation wages also cut by 20%, and a 50% cut in materials. So down to 250. Okay, so minus 10.6 and minus 6.5. That looks right. The next one, MRPC, we don't have anything in that. Planning board wages, that was cut 20% from 31,685 for a minus 16.2 overall. There were no office supplies there, so I left it as is, which would have minus 15.3. CBA, again, a 20% cut, minus 16.5. Land use.
So actually, if we go back up to planning board, under expenses, it's planning board, communication, and office supplies.
Oh, okay.
So
That's only 150.
That's only 150. I didn't change that.
Okay.
I left it.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, yeah. I mean, certainly these are things that we can look at if further cuts are needed. But I would recommend giving this saying this is what we're proposing.
To all the departments.
With to all the departments, and say you're looking at 4 days a week, so you need a 20% cut.
And meanwhile, we could do that.
Well, so Jane says once we have the list, we can talk about next steps, but it would be bringing the unions to the bargaining table.
I guess in my book, it's better to keep all the people that we can and to look at what actually falls out when the schools are settled and the monies from the state. I mean, even cherry sheet money, that's all draft. It's not final. So anyway.
Oh, and just to, we don't actually need to finalize things tonight. I spoke to town clerk. We have until March 26th to submit our ballot question. So we have next Tuesday's regularly scheduled select board meeting to continue this conversation
Yes,
and, finalize things. And I mean, we can either talk about now or next week, whether we want one ballot question for the full ask or splitting it up. I'm more and more liking the idea of one ballot
I think
question.
one ballot question. I don't see a need for two ballot questions. We're funding the schools through the general funds,
Yeah.
so what we're looking at are the cuts to town services.
Well, there was also, I think what happened last night with the amended motion, didn't actually, it didn't resolve much of anything related to the school budget. Because the motion or the amendment was, we took 200,000 out of free cash. And then we were gonna raise and appropriate $411,000 to fund the school.
Oh, I guess we could raise and appropriate.
Raise and appropriate from the operating budget to fund the school operating budget.
Where else would we do it?
Well, what I'm saying is, that amendment only,
Put the burden on the town.
well, yes, but it only took care of $611,000 of the over $15 million school budget. So it didn't really solve anything, because the remainder still needs to be
But it's already in our budget.
Yeah.
It's the difference. It's like the
difference
1
is what we're
point.
after.
Yeah, anyway.
but we didn't talk about it.
Okay, all right.
Can we though? I mean, I feel bad about all of it. So can we at least report to all the department heads what we've done tonight? Give them a heads up,
I think so.
tell them we're gonna rediscuss next week. If they have any input for us, please send it to us
By Friday
by Friday to review next Tuesday.
for review, because I would like to see it prior to sitting down in a meeting.
Yes.
Okay.
And so let's finish going through this
Okay.
and see where we are, I think.
Because certainly if there's suggestions that, I mean, they all want, but it would be good if they could give us resolution of where they feel the money can come from that we haven't addressed.
I think broad strokes, it's 20% cuts across staffing and office supplies being cut in half. I think that's a pretty good start.
And 4 days a week open.
Well, that's where the salary comes.
And because in my mind, closing for a day could save us some energy costs.
Correct.
And that's why I'm saying
And it would
4.
be across the board, 4
Yeah,
days.
except not fire and police,
Yes.
but
24/7, 7 days.
and well, let's go back through here, because there are a couple exceptions. You didn't see my email to Nelson, but there are a couple exceptions. So on the land use coordinator, again, that's a 20% cut. Same with the grant and housing, and same with the land use administrative assistant. So it's minus 19%.
Yep.
And then going down minus 10.3. Did we miss something there? Office
missed
supplies.
office supplies.
Yeah, 550 is what I put in there.
Change that.
And then I'm just going to throw something out here. I might have, I don't think I did put it in your email. Have we posted the land use coordinator position? Can we take it down? Have we received any resumes?
I think we received between 4 and 6 resumes.
Because my thought is, if we have, since we're cutting staff, and currently that staff is covering for the lack of a land use coordinator. Do you think that staff might be interested in just continuing to cover through this mild financial crisis we have going on here?
I mean, I think,
Within the 4 days?
Yeah.
I think short term, we could probably make it work.
Well, we've done it before. It's not fair.
It's not
but we
fair,
have done it before.
but I am
When
thinking,
we didn't find anybody.
and it is kind of double work when we're closing the building for 1 day a week. But it's just a thought to throw out there.
No, and I have considered that too. I think short term, we probably would be okay.
Last time that it happened, it was way too long. It was over a year. And it was way too long. It was not fair to the boards. It wasn't fair to the people doing the job. It just wasn't fair.
Yeah.
But we do have, at that point, we had, I think, one and only one person in that room. We will have 3 people because we do have a conservation agent. We do have planning,
Yeah, we did
CBO.
eventually lose
We
all
do
3.
have a grant and,
The grant person.
the grant
just started,
person,
right?
yeah. I mean, we do have 3 positions in there. When that happened, there was one and
Yeah.
only one.
Yeah.
And no applicants. So anyway, it's something to think about, but,
Okay.
and maybe discuss with the employees in question. So minus 18.4 in land use. Going down to facilities, again, same thing. It was a 20% cut across the board. And leaving everything else the same, basically. I don't think there were any, that's the only thing. It was a minus 16 and down at, where are you at? Okay. Why do you have minus 31? 2 there.
Maybe the one that's not filled, there was a,
Let me look at 59,788, 15,990, 8,628, 18,232. I kept temporary help.
you did. Okay,
I did
so see
not.
what that's about.
I left temporary help there. I didn't zero that out. So I have 18,232, which is 80% of 22,790.
But that's 21,914.
So are you removing that completely?
No.
So it should be 18,232 right there.
Let's see.
And the difference.
Yep.
Wait, I didn't capture that difference. Okay, yeah. So that should be minus 16.6. Okay, yeah. All right, nothing changed in expenses. So for an overall minus 5.2. I thought that even though that facilities maintenance needed to continue, even though we are closing the building 4 days a week. So
At the same rate? You have it all continuing without reduction?
not for things like repair and maintain buildings or equipment. I thought that was
Okay, all right. And
do you
then
see what I'm
these are the
saying? I
expenses,
mean,
not the
we
salaries.
still have the building, and it still has to be maintained.
Okay,
So I mean, we can
may be
consider that,
less,
and
but-
maybe facilities wants to look at it and, change things, but I wasn't going to. So general government total is down 8.7% of those cuts. But that's only one section. So in police, what I did is under police energy, I am hopeful for the solar panels, which may or may not be turned on for the entirety of the year. But I'm hopeful. So I seem
this
to
is next
remember,
year,
I know,
so
it takes a little while to get them turned on by Unitil. I mean, they're still under construction, I believe. And then so hopefully they'll be up and running by July. But, and then you have to look at, you're in the middle summer, and the best time to gain to store is from March to October, in my experience. So anyway, that's what I put there. And energy, I don't know if they have gas or what they have in that building. How do they heat? I don't know. So anyway, so mine was hopeful for solar panels right there.
Okay.
The repair and maintenance of the building was level funded at 20, reduced from 23. But I think that happened. I didn't have 23 there. I had level fund. You might have had a different budget from me. I had 20 in what you sent me.
Okay.
But maybe there was something that happened. I did a 50% cut on the office supplies, which you've captured. And so it came down to 20.6. And then I said, need to get this total below 3%. And so I would give that to the police chief and say, look at your expenses, your budget, whatever, see if you can get this bottom line down to 3. And because there are things in the expenses that I don't know how important it is or not. All right, next one is fire. And I did a similar thing in fire, if I remember right. Might not have even, I didn't change anything there. I just said that number needs to be below 3%, hand it off to the fire chief.
Yep.
And say, get that total down to below 3. However, it can be done. May not be able to be done. I don't know. All right, we took out the TEMA. I didn't change anything in TEMA. And we don't have free cash now. Our intent had been to go to town meeting and do that 30,000 in asks out of free cash because it was not recurring expenses, but we don't have that option now. Maybe we will in a January town meeting. Okay, rolling on down, we get to the building inspector. I did not change the building inspector's salary because that is already part-time. I kept the alternate building inspector as is. I did drop the wages support by 20%, so the 33,576 is not 30%, a 20% cut from 41,969. And did you capture that number? Yes, you did. Okay. So it's 0.9% total in salaries. And I think we left everything as is. I have 10.6. And I wrote the below number is problematic. But that's all I did. So refer it to the building department. Building plumbing inspector, all of these stayed as is. Sealer of weights and measures, these were all level funded in this budget. Animal control, I cut the 5,000 further to 2,500. The ACO professional service. Reduced from 5,000. And again, that's something that needs to be run by the department. But so that dropped that. I did not drop ACO stipend or the tree warden stipend because they are on call all the time. They don't get to shut down for 3 days a week. So I left those as is. And if you look at the bottom line, both of their bottom lines were very small. So, below 2.5%. So looking at public safety total, it's 5.5%, which quite frankly isn't bad. All right, schools are at 6.2. And those are the numbers we looked at last night with Neshoba Tech added in. All right, highway, again, 20% cut across all wages. I left overtime because I figured it's going to be used. I did, and temp help. I didn't adjust either of those. Support staff, 20% cut. So that got captured, all right. Under expenses, the only cut I did was the 50% cut under office supplies. So the 1071, I made 550. I didn't cut it exactly in half.
I chopped it exactly.
Okay. You're meaner than me, Nelson. All right, so it comes down to a minus 13.2. Why is yours so different from mine? What did you take out that I didn't? I have 149, 177 going up. Okay, you took out something that I didn't take out.
Where did I take out?
Did you take out overtime? No.
No.
You left in temp help. 17,256, 4,500, 5,097, 7,450. I think this should be 395,286.
Oh yeah, why is mine so, oh, right here, sorry. What was your bottom
We
number?
still don't match.
Oh.
Back it up. I have 71,485 for, the highway superintendent. I think you have it reversed.
Got it. That match now?
I have 17.5, you have 17.4.
What's the total?
I have 232 for operating staff. I rounded up.
Oh.
If there was any sense, I rounded up.
Okay.
So
We're good then?
we're good, yeah. All right. So down at the bottom, a minus 13.2.
Yep.
All right, for highway. Snow and ice, I did not change at all. Streetlights, I didn't change, although I have been known to remove streetlights in the past, so just know that. All right, solid waste, I removed it.
So I put in 10,000, it's just to account
For the municipal?
Municipal, we still need all of our trash picked up?
Is that the amount? Or is it 14?
No,
Was it
that,
10?
it was like 99.60,
Okay.
so I just rounded up to even 10.
Okay.
Yep.
So I left that in, and so it's a 98.3% drop in the solid waste total.
Well, you should add the 10,000 back on your side.
Okay. And that's the municipal. I didn't know exactly where to put. No, I have 97.1. All right, we match.
So, yeah, okay.
Okay.
I'm just being mindful of the time.
It's 6:15, correct?
Yeah.
Cemetery and parks, we did a 20% cut, pretty much across the board, minus 15.8. I did not cut their office supplies because they are bare bones at $46, and I just couldn't do it at 23. That's it. You get one ream of paper for the entire year instead of two. So anyway, I left that, and it's
How much is it?
they have 46 for office supplies.
Okay, that's just about, because some of the reams are $49.99 and for boxes, and $69.99 or $72.99.
So I figured
last week.
we had a deal.
I
So
didn't realize you were a paper expert.
I have to buy it. And the ink. One trip last week was over $300 for not much.
All right, so minus 14.2. Yes, okay, so moving down to housing authority, again, the same old cut. So that's minus 14.9. What did you do? Different from me. You cut training from 1,400. And so I did that one at 700 because the office and general supplies, I made 700 because I looked at the year before, the prior fiscal year, which was at 1,400. So that's how I did that. So 14.9, we agree. Board of Health, again, the 20% cut in wages. For 15.9. I did 180, you have 179, the 50% cut, minus 17.5. So it works out with rounding. All right, Neshoba Board of Health stayed, Landville Engineering Council on Aging is our next thing. Again, same old 20% cut, so minus 10.2. That looks great. Veteran agent, 20% cut. We had the question about the dues and training. I left it in. I did a 50% cut on the office supplies, and we should be at minus 8.5. Yeah. Library. The library director is a personal services contract, so I left that as is. I did a 20% cut everywhere else. Left longevity, minus 11.5. I did a 50% cut on office supplies, and all total minus 8.3. All right, now recreation. I zeroed the assistant director. I did not do a cut on the department head, and here is why. This supports school children, and it's an every day of the week job. So this is one where the building will not close, would need to be open. The programs that they run are self-funded. I took out the expenses stipend. I removed that completely, the 2,500. And when I did that, I had a 22.5% cut, leaving the salary as is. And that's the reason for it. This is a department that runs completely with its own money. And it supports the school children that was so emphatically beat into us last night that we need to support. And so it's a 5-day-a-week job. They support the kids when there are school days off, when there are in-service days, when there are vacations. Mm-hmm. And so I did not change that salary. And I put that in my note to you, Nelson.
Mm-hmm. I see.
And that's the reason for it. But I did take out all of the supplies and services. So she may have to raise her rates a little bit to get that 2,500. And the cut that resulted, taking out the assistant director, and she could fund an assistant director at 10,000 out of revolving if the monies were there, if she's charged fees enough to have an assistant director. And it's a 22.5% cut in that department. So that seemed fair to me. Memorial Day, I kept the band concerts. We could cut the band concerts, but I kept it because the point that was made during the budget summit was that these concerts are fundraisers for other nonprofits and organizations in town, and that is important. So the band concerts were left in.
And of course, Memorial Day, we really didn't touch that.
Flag committee cut their expenses in half 5 years ago when we needed to, or 4 years ago when we needed to cut stuff, and I did not cut anything there, nor would I.
So that's for replacement of flags, right?
Yes.
Which does happen.
Yeah, it does happen, and they did use it that first year. So anyway, so that's a 10% overall cut in culture and recreation. Okay. And then I didn't touch anything beyond this. I did note on the health insurance town side that we could remove the community services coordinator from this. Anything we have in there. And I don't know the breakdown. I know it's roughly 20 to 22,000.
I'll take a look at that.
Because we have decreased one position, totally gone.
I'm also happy to report that we were able to do some nipping and tucking with the health insurance increase, so I think before it was at like 15.5. Callie and I were able to get it down to 13.85. That's a 15,000.
That's good.
I mean, but then again,
Considering.
it is like 1.2 million, so, we just,
But it's 15 big in our budget right now,
Right.
with these cuts.
yeah,
And
so,
I just want to make the point that Callie did a lot of work on this, as did you, Nelson.
okay.
When I first became a select board, this town paid, I want to say 30,000, maybe 50,000 for a consultant for health insurance. I think it's money well spent to have a human services, a human resources person who has the ability to do this sort of thing, as opposed to hiring an outside consultant to do it. I think it was 30,000, but I would have to look.
Okay.
So yeah, that gets us to a whopping increase of 1.1% year over year.
And so so this is the budget without an override. And so my question then is, what sort of override do we need with so here we don't need an override at all. We funded the schools, we funded the town government, with the exception of public safety, which is close to 100%, by reducing by 20%, closing buildings one day a week. If it's doable, and departments have to look at this and see. I know nobody wants their salary cut. I wouldn't either.
No.
But I thought it was better to do across the board, as opposed to saying we're getting rid of this position, this position. And then if we can increase it by 10%, as funds settle out during the fiscal year, we do that with the intent of hopefully getting things back to where they should be.
And this includes the trash?
It's gone.
Trash is
trash
gone
out of this budget.
out of this budget. We need another 300,000 in this budget, to 400,000 to fund the trash. And I think that puts us in override territory.
So taking into account that number, plugging into the recap, we're still almost 500,000 shy.
Mhm.
And that's without
the
trash.
Correct.
So for trash, with this reduced services budget, I should say, we would need basically 876,000 override.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean, it's.
For this reduced budget, go back to the recap a minute there. So on this, with what we just did, cutting 20%, we still need 476,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we only cut
Well, it's better than.
I mean, we cut about 400,000. We cut about 350 in personnel and about 26,000 in change in expenses. So just under 400,000.
Well, I guess my next place to go would be to remove positions.
I mean,
and it doesn't, it's not like we have highly paid employees.
I mean, 20% is, it's a nice neat number because it's one day out of the week.
That was a good idea.
I mean, you could go up to, so 20% nets you 350,000 in savings, so that's 70, that's about 70,000 per 5%.
I guess you could look at it that way.
So if you lopped off another 5% off salaries, you would gain another 75,000, but that's.
I know this is pie in the sky, but I'm hoping that people say, oh, having an extra day off a week is worth the 20% with the hopes of building it back.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm hoping. And people that are essential workers, personal services contract folks, and a few others, they work 5 days a week. It's just that they're going to have to work from home 1 day a week.
The ones that have contracts.
The ones that have
Yeah, they
contracts
still have to work their
are
hours
not,
that they're getting
you
their
know,
contract costs for.
or not in the 20% cut category.
Right.
So
It's 6 o'clock now. We do have other items,
okay.
so we can.
So do we need, are we ready for a motion, or do we want to bring this back after?
I don't think we're quite ready yet.
Okay.
So
But we are gonna let them know what we've done,
yeah, I'm drafting up an email already.
because to the trust and non-transparency of the selectmen, or select board now, from the audience, it was very apparent that they don't watch the meetings.
I
They
would
don't
agree with
watch
that.
the 40+ hours of joint meetings with the finance committee of how we got to where we got.
Right.
And between that
We'll
and
agree
some
with that.
rumor mill going around, there was a lot of hostile environment last night. And it's too bad that people don't watch the meetings, so they get all the facts for themselves, and not with a couple of people rounding up a bunch of friends to let them speak for them and see what happens. We got an email today from somebody who felt hijacked at the meeting regarding the substitute motion that came in and the position that the town was put in, and those people just took over, and it was a slim vote margin, you know, less than 10 anyway.
Right.
And then, so I don't know how we get the word out that all of this is online. All of our meetings are online. Nobody's holding anything back from them. This is the facts.
They're anyway,
Yeah.
you know,
People like to complain, but they really don't have all the facts to be able to complain.
right.
Right.
And there
Or no
is,
resolution.
talking about the rumor mill, there is some idea in town that there is no transparency here, yet everything is filmed, everything is available.
Yeah, it's a buzzword
Yeah.
with no backing.
Transparency means one thing to one person and another to another person.
We can put it out there. You know, you take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. It's all the information's out there.
Right.
Don't say we're not transparent if you're not looking.
Right.
Okay.
But yeah, I will send out an email tomorrow to all departments saying, you know, as a result of last night's special town meeting, we're gonna need a override. And if it doesn't pass,
This is an alternative to an override. We still have to we still have to go for an override.
Unless
But
we
this is
find
what
further
happens.
cuts. Unless we find further cuts.
Yeah.
I think at the
Yeah.
moment it's.
That means more than 20%.
It probably, in my book, it means eliminating positions. And you know, and it's not a big gain doing that.
Right.
So, I mean, I think people have to understand, and this goes to like in a snowstorm. I think we're gonna have to say highway plows from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m.
And that's it.
And that's it. And because we aren't gonna
Other
have
towns do
the
that.
funds
Right.
to do it.
Or
So you're
just
just
after
gonna
storm.
have to,
After storm.
you just have to be prepared to stay at home a little longer, you know, and that's all that, you know, the library and the senior center, are open, these days of the week. And so plan your life accordingly. Might make us all slow down a little bit. So,
Okay, we're going to move to 4.2, reading 4.1 without a motion. Hopefully people will view the meeting. The
4.2, I'm sorry, I thought you were going on to 4.3. No, I want to just talk to the letter for the community preservation grant.
Okay, go ahead.
The grant administrator and land use coordinator had been working on a grant to do some restoration work on town hall. The thing about it is it requires 100%, a 50% match.
Oh,
And where do we get the match from? One thought had been to take it from free cash.
yeah.
But we're using free cash for the schools. And so the match isn't available. And so at this point, as a select board member, I do not feel free saying, let's go for that grant and
Right.
taking money. Where do we get another 100,000? Our budget, it is made up of what we can bring in that you saw here and free cash. And after last night, we are down to 41,000 in free cash until next December of 2025, when free cash is again certified after the end of the fiscal year 2025. So I am not comfortable saying, oh yeah, let's apply for this grant and get the things that need fixed here at Town Hall fixed, because we don't have a match. So we can look at it again next year.
Yeah.
This goes back to the capital planning projects for town hall here.
Isn't that our next, are we on, do we have?
No.
Well,
capital?
no, this is kind of connected to it because of, we're talking about town hall and there might not be a match, but there were some old articles that were for town hall, but remind me, the planning committee was looking to combine them to fund a project in 25?
26. So there, I actually brought I did bring capital with me in case we were going to discuss. What we were going to do was borrow, is this off topic?
Well, it's
someone on the thing is going to put in a open meeting law request that I talked about something that wasn't on the agenda.
It's connected to it because you're talking about potentially not a match, but there are capital funds that it could be the match. So that's where it's connected.
It was for different uses than what facilities put in for, was for different uses than what the grant would cover. There were it wasn't an exact one-to-one match between what went to capital and what would get redone here in this building. But yes, and capital is on the agenda for next week.
There are town votes.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Nothing that you just said, nothing in the certain departments of the capital planning can't be moved to the town hall because they're town votes. What's in capital planning?
Capital planning has 87,000 in capital stabilization, and we have warrant articles that we can repurpose, a set of warrant articles. That gives us all total in the 150,000 range. We have over that, we'll probably have 200,000 for between turnout gear and projects in town hall. We also have an almost 300,000, 250, 300,000, I can look it up, plow that we were going to recommend borrowing for. I would not at this point borrow because of our uncertain status. So I think that what we're looking at is turnout gear and the other, and we might not be able to buy all the sets of gear that we were going to because we don't have enough free cash, because the remaining funding was going to come from free cash and we no longer have that at our disposal.
Right.
So that's fine. I hope the turnout gear can last another year.
Okay.
So we don't think there's any matching funds available in those old capital.
Oh, you mean using these for matching funds?
I'm wondering if we can jigsaw something together.
This grant is due on Friday.
It
I'm
is.
not jigsawing for Friday. I'm done jigsawing.
And
I've done
so-
enough jigsawing in my
Well, I
public service life.
only try to make it happen because, Colby's, expended some hours, since.
He should put that work aside for next year or the next round of the grant. We will have free cash next year. We have to put a use of free cash policy in place
Yeah,
so that something like this that sucks out
right, doesn't happen again.
doesn't happen again. And so if we
That
do
is-
that,
okay,
Colby's
that's
work
right.
is not for naught, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough.
And we can look at it next week, but the grant will have flown the coop by then.
Right,
And it wasn't, I'm not.
We have to
gonna-
guarantee those funds for matching. Be able to guarantee those funds.
Those
for
funds are
matching and make the
guaranteed.
Application for the grant.
The funds are guaranteed. They're annual town meeting articles that were set aside prior that weren't expended and therefore can be repurposed for similar sorts of things. And, I'm looking at them and it's, not this
But
paper.
we mentioned 87,000, but yet.
We have that in capital stabilization already. We will expend all the funds in capital stabilization, which will leave us with nothing in capital stabilization. So,
Because basically you have stuff in capital planning that's over 200,000. But you only have
Yes.
87.
yeah.
I think that's what I heard you say.
Yeah, plus about another 60 or so in these repurposed articles. So.
Okay.
And there are more articles, but people aren't willing to give them up, so, okay.
Yeah, okay. All right.
People use those as a little saving account, kind of like, your tax return, so.
Okay. Well, thank you, Nelson, for trying. I
Yes.
understand. Thank you,
It,
Veronica, for the explanation. And sometimes it is what it is. We had something happen last night that we didn't expect, so we're dealing with that, what the voters wanted. 4.3.
fine with it, yeah.
Letter of support for Project 211 plus 21 community call to action regarding mass school funding formula. Is there a motion?
Yeah, I move that we approve sending a letter of support for Project 211 plus 21, community call to action regarding the mass school funding formula to the state and authorize the town administrator to sign on behalf of the select
Would you like me
board.
to bring it into the record?
Um, this
it's not that, but yeah.
Dear Senator Jason Lewis, as your committee begins the challenging process of determining funding priorities for the certified fiscal 24 $1.4 billion Fair Share Act surplus and the FY 26 state budget, we respectfully urge you to prioritize addressing the severe financial difficulties faced by all school districts, including 232 districts classified under hold harmless status. The Chapter 70 education funding formula relies heavily on anticipated model student enrollment assumptions to ensure school districts receive adequate operational funding. Districts with enrollment below these assumptions are guaranteed to receive at least the same aid as the previous year, but the formula lacks additional protection to guarantee sufficient core funding for all essential components of a school district. Since the last update to the Chapter 70 formula in FY 07, statewide student enrollment has steadily declined, leaving 232 school districts dependent on hold harmless status. As a result, these districts receive only a minimal per pupil aid increases in Chapter 70 funding. This situation shifts full responsibility of covering budget increases onto municipalities as a burden that has proven unsustainable. We respectfully present the attached allocation requests for the one-time FY24 Fair Share Act surplus funding and the proposed FY26 state budget line item increases. By providing school districts with additional FY25 funds, superintendents may realize relief in fiscal year 25 that somewhat eases the strain on financial resources for FY26, thus helping to offset the significant budget increases that municipalities can no longer sustain. We are grateful for your tireless efforts and commitment to supporting our students and school districts. Respectfully, Nelson Yu, Town Administrator. Thank you,
Thank you,
Nelson, for
Nelson.
doing that.
And was there a second on the motion?
I seconded, there wasn't.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
And so we need to vote on the motion?
Yes. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Veronica Cal, aye.
And Laura Schiffern, aye.
Thank
you,
you.
Nelson.
Sure.
Any other updates? Nelson, you have 2 minutes.
Sorry, Kieran, the Grand Housing Coordinator, all his pre-employment paperwork is all set, and he's due to start tomorrow.
Tomorrow, excellent.
I told the staff in the land use office, so,
I'm sorry, who's that?
Kieran Mia.
That's the grant use, the grant. Okay, thank you.
yep, so he's starting tomorrow.
Okay, very good. I did my announcements in the beginning. And again, ask for volunteer response forms. We are next meeting March 18th at 6 p.m. And I'll entertain a motion to review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
I move that we review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants out of session.
Second, any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Veronica Cal, aye.
And Laura Schiffern, aye. Motion to adjourn.
No, don't we have are we gonna adjourn this
Oh, we go
meeting?
back to the 6:15 meeting. Okay. Right.
You have to adjourn this meeting.
We have to adjourn this meeting. And
Up to
then
you.
we re-adjourn, we call the meeting at 6:15.
It's part of this
Part
agenda.
of this agenda.
So,
Okay.
we will just move up to
Right.
2.2.
So the only thing left on our agenda is the 6:15 joint meeting with the Board of Health.
Yep, and we're actually joining, their Zoom, right? Right. Tom, are you down there? Could you, stop recording?